Hello and welcome to this video presentation on the feminine line. I'm Gemma Sky and I'll be taking you through it. There'll probably be a lot of parts, so I do apologize because it's very in-depth and I'm not going to get through it in all of one hit, but hopefully somewhere through it I'll get to my whole point. Okay, so I'd like to start to understand the feminine line and what it is and what we need to do. Of course, we have to go back through history to actually understand where it started and what was done about it, and just so you get a brief outline basically, so it starts to make sense to you. So basically, females have been under suppression energy for a very, very long time. I've been trying to work out where it first ever started, where females were suppressed. And it looks like it goes back, way back to the beginning of man and woman. Basically right back then. Because that's where it's all led me back to. I thought perhaps maybe in pagan days, and where all the goddesses were worshipped and things like that, that the female line was strong then and current then. But then I remembered all the witch hunts and all the pagans that were killed and burnt alive and things like that, and I thought, no, we were still suppressed in those times as well. And a lot of the goddess statues were pulled down and destroyed and broken, and people weren't allowed to worship them anymore. So no, then again, it still showed how we weren't in any sort of power and that we weren't honored. So basically, if I say to you cavemen, what image comes up in your head straight away? I asked my daughter this today, and she said, oh, cavemen in a cave, mum. And she didn't say cave women. And when I think of the cavemen and going back to those times, the images that pop into my head is a caveman dragging a cave woman by her hair along the ground and clubbing her with his club. Probably comes up with you as well. So again, full on suppression of the female there. We've been so programmed with imagery that cave women weren't important, or they didn't exist, or they weren't as great as the male, or the male were the hunters and we were the gatherers and things like that. Again, using their strength of how mighty and powerful are, and how we only went over and collected berries and fruits and gathered things up, and we weren't as important as the male. And then you go in through all throughout history, it comes through, like I said, the witches and all the burnings in Salem of all the witches. And then they were the ones who knew medicine. They're the ones who created medicine, and men didn't like that. They thought, oh, we can make money off all their herbal elixirs, and if we kill them off, we've got all of their recipes, we've got all their knowledge, we can make a business out of this. And hey, there we go, there we got pharmaceutical companies happening right there. And they've just continued on basically with the knowledge of herbs and medicinal things that the witches had. And the magic witches had all turned into alchemists have used, secret societies have used. The witches' covens have only really just started building up in numbers again, because people are going back to the old pagan religion, because it's one of the first true religions. So women have definitely been attuned to learn about that more and go back into learning about witches and their religion. So there's lots and lots of things. You've also got in biblical times how, Mother Mary doesn't get mentioned a lot in the Bible. No, she doesn't. And Mary Magdalene, well, in the Bible, she's a prostitute. She's a hoe. She's only good enough to wash Jesus's feet. Which is far from the truth. Rainbow Serpent said she was his wife, she was his lover, she was his best friend, she was his soulmate. He honored her more than any of the other disciples, and it says so in some of the Gospels, that the other disciples were jealous of the relationship that she had with Jesus. They had a child together, Sophia, the first daughter, the first bloodline. They also had other children after that. They fled to France. They lived there. They still preach there. He didn't die on the cross, but I go into that, I think, later on in the presentation anyway, so I won't go too much into it now. But again, how the Catholic Church in the Bible does not give any credit to Mother Mary or any credit to Mary Magdalene and to any other women. Really, they're hardly even mentioned in the Bible. All the men are, women are not. And again, still to this day, women can't be priests. Women can't go out there and preach. Well, we can hold Sunday schools. Yeah, we can do that. But we can't get up on the platform and we can't preach the word of Jesus. Come on. You know, that suppression of women in the fullest. You go to any Catholic church, walk around, have a look, and you will see how dominant the male energy is there. Why is it so? Without a woman, there wouldn't be Jesus. Without a woman, there wouldn't be men on this planet. A woman has the power in her womb. And then you go back into Egyptian times. A lot of the kings, I have found out, and I have always presumed, not all of them were kings. A lot of them were females. One recent one we found out about was King Khufu. We're connecting big things here because that king, or as I like to call her queen now, Queen Khufu, she built the Great Pyramid of Giza and the complex, but her tomb is empty. Why is it empty? Because she's not there. That's another story. I know where she is. But she's not there. But she created that whole thing where everyone goes to worship and to honor and to stare at the magnificence of the Great Pyramid done by a woman. Hello. We are so powerful. We are such full-on energy here. But who honors all of that in Egypt? All the men go there and it's got security and it's got the Egyptian people all looking after it and all the councils there and all the governments there. It's so suppressed by males yet again. No one ever there says, oh yes, this was built by a female. No, they won't tell you that. And then I also think that King Tutankhamun, I've always thought, oh, boy like king. Boy like king, come on. I think Tutankhamun is a female game. It's my theories, but I'm going with it. But again, they would never put Queen Khufu or Queen Tutankhamun. They had to put the king there. They had to put the royal name. They had to put the male lineage. They had to give it male power, male energy, because there's no way we can say it was a female. Why not? Because if they gave us the power, they know we would change the world. It would become loving. It would become gentle. People would work with passion. People would work with empathy. Everything would be beautiful. I'm not saying there wouldn't be some fights or some things, but we wouldn't have fights over religion. We wouldn't have fights over God. Women would let people practice whatever they wanted to, as long as it came from love. And men didn't like that, because then they wouldn't have the power. They wouldn't have the money. They wouldn't be able to get up the ladder and look down on us. Just go to any temple, any church, any religion. Who are all the prophets? Men. And how many women are out there channeling information? Lots. Lots and lots and lots. But do they get any credit? No. They don't get credit. The men do. Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha, just to name a few. Or the disciples of the Bible, all men. It's like they wouldn't let a woman even get in. And that's why we get that saying that we have to break through the glass ceiling. Because they're all sitting up there and we're trying to climb the ladder and get up, but we have to break through that glass ceiling to get there. Why? Why was there a glass ceiling created in the first place? What else is there? So if we know that that Great Pyramid was built by a female, it must be on a female energy point. It must have female energy all over it. So by going there, it will enhance your female line. It will make you look at it completely different. It's sitting on Mother Earth, which is a female line, female energy, and there is the greatest monument on earth, which is female. Pretty big in my book. Will the Egyptians ever tell us that and prove it to us? Who knows? But at least you know now. Witches of Salem, as I've talked about. Another one, Joan of Arc. Look what she did. Where's her credit? Nah, kill her. You know, women in the military. You know, when they all went to war, World War One, World War Two, all the nurses, all the women in military that helped. Where's their credit? It's only been recent times that they've been allowed to march, or they've been allowed to be honoured, or their stories are allowed to be told. Only in recent times. Why is that? They were all there bandaging them up, helping them, encouraging them, getting them back up, helping them through their death process. They were all the nurses, but they weren't honoured. You know, they get no credit whatsoever. And then you have like sex slaves. Well, you always hear about the female sex slaves, don't you? Men keeping them in the dungeons, keeping them in the basements. I'm sure there are male sex slaves out there, but you mostly hear about the females. And why is that? Because men like to dominate over the female. They like to use their sexuality against them and put them down and degrade them, because that makes them feel better. Then you have, this is a weird thing, you know, then you have the gay women. Nothing wrong with women being gay. God bless them. Go for it. But, you know, everyone likes to have the gay friends, the male gay friends. Oh, you know, I'm a fag hag and, you know, they're my buddies and they're my mates. And it's really trendy to have that. But when is it going to be trendy to say, hey, look, here's my gay female friends? You know, I hate calling them gay. They're just female friends. But it's not like they're as popular as the gay guys. It's like, again, they're pushed aside. And if you look at the gay Mardi Gras, perfect example of that. All the men on the floats, all the men dancing around. There's a few floats for the females. There's dykes on bikes and things like that. But they're not really like up there. They're not really like cheered and you know, praised and honoured and the great Mardi Gras like they should be. And it's such a shame, because there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. What their sexual behaviour is in bed has got nothing to do with us whatsoever. And two females together, double the love in my book. You know, two empathy, two people with compassion, two people with joy, two people doing unconditional love. Good on them. You know, but I'm just saying it's not as trendy to be a lesbian as it is to be a gay man. You know, the cavemen's I've talked about. You know, as I've said a million times in the Catholic ceremonies and rituals, when they do a blessing on you, or when you go through, what's it called, baptism, and they put the water over here and they do the cross. Well, what they're doing is actually scarring the third eye. There's your third eye. There's your psychic ability. There's your connection to source. That's how you see things. That's how you can do prophecy. Puts a cross on their third eye, which makes it very hard to see if you've got a scarring of a cross in your vision. They know that. That's why they do it. They know what they're doing. And then they put the holy water on the back of the head and it drips down. Hello, crown chakra, connection to source. Let's put the holy water on it. Let's seal that crown chakra so they won't be connected to source. And then you got the brides of Christ. They all wear white. They all act like virgins. They all go down there. They all get the blessings. They get to drink the blood, the wine, and then they get to eat the bread, the flesh. And they get to do all these magical, which actually sounds really not so nice process if you look at it in different ways. That is all stopping them from bringing out their goddess, their energy, their female line. Brides of Christ. We have to be a bride? No, we don't. We have to be brides of Christ? No, we don't. If you love Jesus and if you love Christ and believe in the God energy, you can have that within your heart. You don't need to be the brides of Christ and go through a ceremony to prove it. Your love for him should be proof enough. Yes, very controversial. And then you've also got all of that is removing the bloodlines. Okay, even when they go into priesthood, they have all these stages that they have to go through where they're learning these ceremonies and they're learning these traditions. It all just empowers the man and not the female. Then we've also got just have to look at politics. There we can go with that one. Most of them all male. Margaret Thatcher's the only name I can bring up with a female in true power. Yes, Hillary Clinton is going for it right now, but, you know, all of them have been men. All of them kind of been Freemasons, if we're talking American. And all of them have been in power of certain bloodlines. Where's the female energy there who can change the world in politics? We need to have more females up there. We need to have females in power. I'm not saying it has to be Hillary. That's none of my business. But, you know, we need to have more votes than just Hillary. Why does it just have to be Hillary? Shouldn't we have a few other candidates that we can choose from that are females? You know, then you look at councils all run by men. Only few council members are females, majority are men. You look at the law system and the judges, mainly men. Lawyers, mainly men. Few females are getting up there now, and good on them, girls, go for it. But mainly men. And the law itself is built on constitutions that were made by men. You know, and the government, the Declaration of Independence, all made by men. So where is our input? It's not in there. If you look at history, it's not in there. We're in the backgrounds. We're in the basements. We're in the ones whispering in their ear. Behind any good man is a good woman. Remember that saying? Well, it's true. Because the women are in the background going, pss, 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 you should do this. You should do that. And then the man listens. I'll go there. Yeah, we should do this and that. But never gives the woman credit for it. Says, oh yeah, it was my wife who said that to me. That was my wife's great idea. Never happened. But she did say it. But she wouldn't get credit for it. Then you've also got, you know, like I said, the laws, councils, things like that. A lot of sacred sites. People presume straight away, oh, this is male energy here. Nope. Or they'll go, oh, most of the archaeologists and people that got permission to dig them, mainly males. Yep. You know, so they put their energy imprint on those sites straight away. There's so many sacred sites around the world that are female. And females trapped there, and female spirit energy trapped there. Isn't it time we release the female energy there and let it roar and let it rip and let these sites be known for what they are? There's so many beautiful birthing caves and healing bowls, all female. But again, they don't get the credit for all of that. You look at Arabian times, the red tent, the great book, the red tent. All the females stuck in a tent together when they're menstruating. Woo, woohoo, blood, whoopee shit. Really, you know, that blood that comes out the woman is the most sacred thing of all. It's got so much medicine qualities about it. It could really change the world if we actually honoured the menstrual cycle and the blood. It's actually amazing what we can do with it. And they would honour themselves in there, the women, and they would worship their own little gods, and the men wouldn't know what would be happening in the tents. But if they found out, the women were killed, the tent was pulled down, the goddesses were destroyed. So it was like, again, we had to be in secret with being a female. Why? Why were they pushed aside into a tent just for being a female? And then you got the Chinese. They don't want to have baby girls. Baby girls are killed. If you have a baby girl, oh no, it's a bad thing. You can only have boys. Why are they so put down in China for being a female? Think about that one. It's all just putting down of the feminine line. Why is it you think that men won't go around wearing pink shirts and they get picked on if they wear a pink shirt? Oh, it's watermelon. It's not pink, it's watermelon. Because pink is related to the female. but pink is actually unconditional love. Men should be walking around with pink shirts, trying to bring in their feminine lines and bring in balance, and by using unconditional love is the best thing for them. Who cares what people think? Let's break that programming of, oh, pink's female and blue is boys. Crazy, crazy, crazy. This is another weird thing that he shows me. He shows me quite unusual stuff. The men who always put the toilet seats up refuse to put the toilet seats down. Well, basically, it's just a symbol of an erect penis. So as long as that toilet seat's up, they can get their penis up. They've got an erect penis. If they forced to put that toilet seat down, that's taking away their manhood. Really? Like, but that's how it is programmed for them to think. So now I want to talk about the female areas. So with females, of course, we've got pregnancy, we've got birth, we've got periods, we've got the cycles of life. You know, men can't handle changes of cycles because it would just make them so insecure and losing their control factor and then their power. So that's why we got given the right to give birth and the anatomy to give birth. I watched a thing on YouTube the other week that really cracked me up, and it was on Mother's Day. And basically they did an experiment where they had a whole different group of males in. I think there was about 20 of them, don't quote me on it. And they had them electrode things connected to their balls and connected to their top of their penis, not actually on their penis, and onto the muscles. So it would represent them going through the stages of labor. And all of them wanted to do the natural labor and find out what it would actually feel like to be a female and go through labor. So they took them through stage 1 of labor. Most of them was screaming their head off. And the thing was that if they wanted to get out of the pain, they had to yell out epidural. So most of them, out of 20, I think 10 in first stage of labor, yelled out epidural. They couldn't even handle stage 1. So there was one guy in the end who was so determined to go through the last stage of labor, and he was the one who actually had it on his ball, so it would have been quite painful, but he was determined to do it. So they started up the machine and he went through the extremes of last stage of labor, and he was screaming this rude down and crying and in so much pain, and he ended up yelling out epidural. So out of those 20 men in the study, not one of them could handle the pain of labor. So do you really wonder why the universe gave it to women? Because honestly, women kick out babies. Yeah, it's painful. Yeah, we do it, but we do it and we get through it and we're fine and we go back to have another one. So obviously we're being given the endurance, we're being given the strength, and we're being given the pain tolerance to be able to do it. So also then, you know, men were given the stronger physical male body. Okay, we all know that. It's a fact. You know, they can run faster, they can do weights more heavier, they've got more agility to do things than a female. It's the truth, I'll admit it. You know, as much as I wouldn't want to admit it, I have to admit it. It is the truth. My husband could knock me out with one punch, where I could not do that to him. You know, so it's true. You know, but women were given the mental body. So we were given being able to think and know things and to prophesize and to think ahead and see the future, where men weren't. They were more concentrated on their physical bodies. But men learnt over the years that if they wanted to be ahead of the game in suppressing the female, that they had to learn their mental body. So they had to balance their physical and their mental body and get smarter than women. So then they thought, if we don't educate the women and we don't allow them to vote and we don't allow them to do all this or that, we're going to be more educated. We get more of the mental mind. We have that over the top of them too. And they did that through history, didn't they? So yeah, they just did it to remain in power. As long as they were in power and as long as they could suppress, they had control over the world. You know, and so also, you know, we're in the age of Aquarius, which is a woman holding an urn that's pouring out water. Water is emotions. So a lot of women are going through emotional times at the moment, trying to find themselves, trying to find their strengths, trying to find their life purpose, trying to bring back that feminine line and that feminine power. That feminine line is actually a ley line that runs throughout the world. And that is not activated, that is not enhanced. So women are now getting called to step up into their strengths, to become huge goddesses, to become mighty and powerful with love, not with greed, not with ego, but through love, and to walk through to enhance that female line that will be activated through Earth. So then all those entities that are stuck in sacred sites and all of those entities that are around that haven't been given their due course with love and due course with being in power and credited for what they did, will then we all get credited. And we'll break all those karmic cycles for those females, and then we're breaking it for the next generation of women that are coming through. Thank you. That's all for now. I will continue with part 2.